With that being said, take us to the ice.
Yeah, it was like we said, we're in that kind of weird period of the year where the seasons are almost done, but not quite. We didn't get any finality yet in our Stanley Cup final series, but we got a couple very interesting games here. Games 3 and 4. And to just give the roundup, our series is tied 2-2, which I believe is the same on the NBA side now as well.
It is. Some saying that this is potentially the greatest NHL playoff ever.
Oh, absolutely not. I mean, it's been pretty entertaining so far. Maybe that's coming out of Edmonton or of Florida, where if you're part of those fan bases, sure, I'm sure it feels incredible. 3
of the 4 games going to the overtime is the argument there. You don't get to see that every day for sure, and it seems like it's a regularity in throughout apparently all hockey playoffs.
The amount of overtime has been very impressive. The effectiveness of the 6-on-5 late in the game has, I think, taken like a statistical spike this year in terms of like offenses have figured out what they need to do in that last minute drill if you have control of the puck, it's a pretty good chance that you'll be able to knock one in. That being said, my big argument against it would have been the Game 3 show that we got from the Edmonton Oilers, which was absolute garbage level goonery in a game that they got blown out of within the first 30 minutes and turned the back half of into not even a boxing match, just outright like assault and thuggery.
I mean, yeah, they do have sort of a good line to make up sort of that thuggery, but at the same time, Florida is also like sort of the annoying child in the league where they just kind of pick and prod at you, and maybe they'll do something a little bit dirty, not that's over the line, but not too far past the line that now it's a police report.
Yeah, I mean, just so this being the first road game for Edmonton, this was the first series, like at the time the series was in Florida, so you want to come out with good energy, and they immediately started taking penalties, went down 3-1, like I said, in the first 30 minutes, and after that it was not even making hockey plays, just trying to injure people. And yeah, Florida has... I mean, this was after this game, everyone was like, oh, this series is over. Florida's in their heads. Edmonton looks absolutely washed. Because of the 10-minute game misconducts that started getting thrown out in the third period, Edmonton finished the game with like 7 guys left on the bench, including Leon Draisaitl and McDavid not playing, I think, in the last 15 minutes of the game because it was too dangerous.
I'm curious, like, there should be some sort of like, if you're going like way past the line, like should those not carry into sort of the next game over?
So, something you think, or I mean, there is some triggers for like potential suspensions to be handed down for egregious penalties, but I don't remember the last time we've seen a postseason suspension like mid-series for an act on the ice. Maybe a couple years ago there was one where a stick got like intentionally whacked at someone on the bench. I think that one got a suspension, but it takes a lot to get players safe. And this is maybe something we can discuss, because I know this has also been a topic of discussion in the NBA world as well, is the noticeable and definitive change in how the games are officiated come the playoffs, and whether or not that is actually beneficial for the product that they are displaying to their potentially biggest audience, to have the rule set just kind of change all of a sudden. And potentially, like in the NBA, it's a little different because it's rewarding people for like drawing fouls more than anything, that I think is, or like the inconsistency of who's getting those calls. And on the NHL side, it's like, this is supposed to be your most skilled players in the world. Why are you letting them like massacre each other?
The NBA is very. I mean, the NBA is almost the very same way. Like during the season, it's almost to a level like ticky tacky calls, and then once you reach the playoffs, you can almost mug somebody. And
yeah,
that's okay.
And it's something I like. There is a certain element of like, yes, we do want it to be a little bit more flexible in the playoffs. You don't want to have a game decided because there was like 7 penalties on one team. But at the other side of it, it's like, yeah, that you're playing a different game now than the one that was the regular season.
Yeah, I was going to say, I see your point, because now there are two almost completely different games. There's sort of the regular season, which you battle through, and in the NHL, you do get a trophy for winning that. And then you have the playoffs, which is sort of the real thing that everyone truly cares about, that not everyone makes it there, but is a completely different game than what I just previously played before.
The 82 that we just did, yeah. And I don't know. So that was kind of the big theme, in Game 3. Game 4 was a little bit more, I could see an argument for that being a bit of an all-timer, because Florida, now up 2-1, takes a 3-0 lead in Game 4 on home ice, looking like things are going easy breezy. Chased Stuart Skinner out of the net for a second straight game, but Calvin Pickard came in, threw up the brick wall, and the Oilers scored 4 goals in a row to take a 4-3 lead with 3 minutes left in the game. But once again, the Panthers were able to pull the 6-on-5 with the empty net and got a game-tying goal with 19 seconds left on the clock to force OT, where hero of this year for Edmonton, Leon Draisaitl, got his 4th overtime game winner. And I don't know if you remember the tidbit from last week or a couple weeks ago, Joe Sakic's record is 7, and that's for his career of overtime winners. So 4 in one go is incredible.
Yeah, he's done something very special, I think, throughout this playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, if for all of the McDavid is our savior talk out in Edmonton, if this one goes home with Edmonton, I think Draisaitl gets the MVP award on this one.
He is their highest paid player.
That he definitely is. The other player to shout out of the series so far has been Sam Bennett, who is now projected to be the top free agent of this upcoming summer, who has almost certainly played himself into like a $12 million plus contract, whether or not he's going to deserve it or play up to it because he's like in his 30s as well. If not 30s, late 20s. He's been around a while. But he is exactly like, if Florida wins, he's going to be their MVP, because he has been scoring, defending, laying hits, getting under guys' skin, just like the ideal playoff performance, pretty much, out of Sam Bennett. So he's probably earned himself a nice little payday for the back end there. So that was the game action this week. So like I said, the series is tied 2-2. We have Game 5 scheduled for later today on our Saturday record here, I believe. And then our Game 6 will not be until next Tuesday. But I believe by next episode, we will have a winner for you. Because, if we need to go to a Game 7, that will also happen before recording time. So, yes, but this one's still anyone's series. We're going back to Edmonton for one, back to Florida, and then if we have to, Game 7 will be in Edmonton. I'm still leaning Panthers, though. This Edmonton team is too bipolar, and you don't want the potential for just a bad, like, having another Game 3, I think makes them the weaker team. Florida has been steady as she goes this entire run.
Yeah, I like Florida's consistency through and throughout the whole playoffs for the most part. They have found sort of the right level of being skilled enough and offensive and defensive enough, as well as also being annoying enough that they kind of come out and it's the same all the way through. Whether they win or lose that game kind of depends on how superhuman the other team can go. And
I would say part of that Game 4 collapse from Florida it was one of Bobrovsky's kind of weaker playoff performances to give up the, what was that final 5-4? Yeah. But he has been certainly a little bit more consistent than the goaltending situation over in Edmonton. Again, it all leans towards Florida in my eyes. Other NHL news, we kind of have the roundup now for end of season awards, and a few noteworthy call-outs there. For the first time in 15 years, I believe, we have the goalie of the year, Connor Hellebuck, also getting the MVP award.
Huh.
Yeah, it's a fun little combo for him, even though he still did not make it very far into the playoffs.
They are regular season awards.
They are regular season awards. The Ted Lindsay Award, which was the player-voted MVP, went to Nikita Kucherov. There was a lot of discussion about Hellebuck and his heart coming from kind of another voter fatigue thing because the other two candidates were McKinnon and Draisaitl, who have both won it in like the last 5 years.
Draisaitl has himself one?
He does have one already, yeah. I think him and McDavid both have one. It's spoils of riches up there. The other news, Cale Makar wins his second career Norris Trophy, and he is all of 25, 26. A little baby still.
Still a little baby.
The Rookie of the Year went to Lane Hudson in Montreal over Macklin Celebrini over in San Jose, who was kind of the main front runner and the position players, but he ended up third. Second place went to Dustin Wolf, who was the rookie goalie out in Calgary. But Lane Hudson, defenseman, threw up 60 assists. So, like, by far and away was the leader in rookie point scoring. And this one, the Masterson Trophy was for the perseverance and dedication to the game. And this was the one Landy was up for. He did not win it.
He's not going to get it.
This is a bad... Here's my take. This is the sort of thing that an award is a bad format for, where you have to make it one story like wins the year or something, because the winner went to Sean Monahan of the Columbus Blue Jackets, who was the best friend of Johnny Gaudreau, who passed away before the season started. And that is very sad and tragic. Landy spent 2 years rehabbing his knee. No one was sure he would play again. I don't know how that doesn't get more votes, but that's all I'll say on that before I sound like a bad guy talking smack about a dead man's best friend. But yeah, that's the trophy rundown for our regular season awards. So nice to see Cale get.
Nope, they're tired of Mac and Landy.
No Mac, no Landy.
Landy.
Maybe he'll get it next year.
Yeah, if the story continues on, who knows what we'll get, the stories of riches.
Indeed. And then last two little notes out of NHL. Some familiar faces in new places are our assistant coach from the Eagles and former player Dan Highnote is now joining the bench as an assistant coach over in Tampa Bay, so he's moving up to the big leagues.
Going to the Lightning.
And Adam Foote, our former captain, defenseman, defensive coach.
Didn't he just get fired as well? Or is that someone else?
So Adam Foote is filling in for the fired Rick Tocchet up in Vancouver. This will be Footer's new first time as a head coach.
Who was our guy who's in Sacramento? I think who's with the Kings. That's the basketball team, the LA Kings.
Rob Blake
was that Blake?
Blake is the guy out with the Kings. I think he had been general manager for a while.
Yeah, I think he got fired.
That might be.
Or there's a mutual
parting of ways.
Yeah, which is a nice way of saying he got fired.
Yes, they did mutually part ways on May 5th of this year, so after they lost to Edmonton. Rough. That is the roundup on the NHL side, and then PWHL, our one little note. We did see the expansion draft happen on Monday, and after that, 7 rounds of picking back and forth. The consensus around the league is that Vancouver and Seattle are now the top 2 teams in the league. The core 6 have been left relatively depleted. I think Minnesota lost of their top 5 draft picks of the last 2 years, like rounds 1 and 2. They have 1 of them left. They've lost 3 in the expansion draft and traded 1.
Jesus.
So there is a little bit of hey, if we do another one of these, maybe we're going to adjust it a little bit.
Yeah, it's crazy that they just kind of they just murdered every other team for the most part.
Now, the caveat to that is we do still have the regular draft coming up later in the month. I believe June 24th or 26th, one of those days, will be the regular yearly draft of new players where everyone will get a chance to get some new talent signed as well. In that one, the Siren have the number 1 pick, as we discussed. And then the expansion teams will have picks 7 and 8, and they will alternate in the rounds on which team gets the higher pick of that round, that's how that's going to go. And then outside of that, there is now still a pretty deep pool of free agents left because, as we said, most of the initial contracts of the league were 2-year, and the 2 first years are up now. So the players who weren't already under contract, didn't get involved in the move around, are now kind of free game for anyone to sign. So We will keep track of how that all shakes out in the offseason and make sure you are up to date on what those rosters are looking like before next season rolls around.
Before we leave the hockey world, I think we'd be remiss. How we feeling about our good friend here, Martin Nietzsche's?
Oh, Marty. Well, so it's been the rumor mill going around that he wasn't super thrilled about staying in town. Did something happen? Am I missing something?
Not yet, but there is a lot of, I think for sure he has to go.
I mean, he's a big candidate to go or get moved. Like we discussed last week with the signing of Brock Nelson at 7.5, we have basically $1 million and some change in cap space with 4 roster spots still to fill up. So yes, there is definitely, if the rumors are true that he doesn't want to intend to sign an extension this year, which I guarantee they are having the conversations with his agent about this summer on whether he wants to do a long-term deal or not, because they either want to lock him in this year, not worry about the dance around trade deadline and all that with him the same way Mikko went down, or they will. We've seen Chris McFarland will get on the phones and make something happen. So I do fully intend to expect to see a kind of different forward group coming in from what we have on paper right now. The other one is Charlie Coyle potentially getting dealt around somewhere now that Nelson is locked in as well. So we may still just be on the hunt for center depth again.
'Tis the way.
Apparently. But I think that is the thing that we did find out from our kind of weird run last year, was that we have a lot of good winger options. So it's maybe worth it to sacrifice one or two of them for improvement in the middle of the line. So I do expect to see something happening, but I couldn't tell you who, what, when, where yet.
Yeah, I don't know what it sucks because that is our Rantanen sort of
him and Drury, and Drury's a solid number 3 guy. Like he's going to be a 3rd, 4th line center, and he's a good face-off asset. But that's not a great return on Mikko by itself.
No, it almost makes. Carolina did sort of what they did, so they don't look quite as bad. We kind of look like we almost lost.
Carolina has a lot of draft capital coming up now that, again, probably won't pay off for a few years, but that might be the sort of thing where we look back and say, this is where they built their power line or whatever.
Yeah, it kind of feels like we lost it in the trade there for sure.
I think in the overall, trade dealings, Dallas kind of came out with what they wanted, but they're going to have their whole salary cap kerfuffle to
very
squeeze through.
Expensive team over there right now.
Yeah, they're over cap, and they have a lot of old guys who need to move along probably. Carolina probably will in the end come out as the overall victor, but again, our situation was just that it was that or lose him for nothing. So given those circumstances, it would have been nice to get more, but better to have gotten something. I think a lot of it will depend, because if you can, if there's something creative where you deal maybe Marty Necas and Charlie Coyle and get a big return package of some some solid position guys and maybe a couple of draft picks or prospects to restock the cabinet there, that might be worthwhile as well, because you do also have to worry about the future of this team.
Yeah, hindsight's 20/20, right? Can you imagine what if we hadn't made that swap? Marty Necas still in Carolina, and we still have Mikko on our team heading into Dallas. Could look a little different.
Oh, the playoff run might have been a whole lot different for sure, but
is it worth it to not get any assets back for the future if you could potentially have a longer run in which you can hold the Lord Stanley's Cup?
Arguably, probably, yeah.
It's up to a personal preference.
Yeah, but most players and executives will be like, yeah, it's pretty worth it to raise the cup. Everyone feels a little better about contract negotiations with the team they won the cup with, more or less. That used to be more true, I think, actually. In the free agent period now, guys got to chase their raises when they earn them.
options are we trade him and we kind of did what we did and we end up where we are now, or we keep him, have maybe a longer run. Who knows? Maybe we're in the Stanley Cup final.
It's a bigger gamble to do it that way.
It is, but at the end of the day, right? Nietzsche just doesn't want to be here, and we have to free up salary cap. Versus we just don't sign Rantanen, and we have sort of this cap left over.
Potentially,
maybe.
I think the difference is though with this one, having Nietzsche's contract still with a year on it, we can get something of value for him, whether it's of equivalent value or not to Mikko Rantanen. It's still more than we would be getting. Like we'll be getting the cap space and whatever asset we get for Marty. So in the long run, GM game, I think we made the right move. The move that gave us more options, I would say.
For sure.